Hey guys, Greg Denny here. It is a heavenly day outside. I love it when it's like this. It's a great day to be alive. You know the frustration and anger and the turmoil when you're stuck in a negative cycle, when you just can't seem to break free from something you know is not helping you and you don't like it and you don't want to keep doing it, right? But you're just stuck. And it happens to all of us. We are creatures of habit, and we get in these patterns and we get in these cycles, and it's often really difficult to break free. I do mentoring and coaching all the time. Had mentoring sessions just yesterday talking about this very thing, where we want to make a change in our life. Maybe it's with our health, or maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a spiritual journey or something we're struggling with psychologically in our mind or in our emotions. Just something we want to change. It might be finances. It might just be the way we're using our time. But we get stuck in these negative cycles and it just keeps going. We're like, okay, I'm done. This is over. It's not going to happen. And we do it again. And then we say, okay, I'm changing this. I'm going to start doing this every day. And we don't do it. It lasts for a day or two. And so I came up with this formula, and it's been used forever. So like it was amazing in my life. I started using it before I even knew it was like a thing. But it worked. It worked for me, and now literally I spend my life helping others do this. And it's just two simple things. Number one, it's a pattern interrupter. We have to do something that totally interrupts what's going on in our life. And the more of a drastic interruption it is, the more effective it's going to be. And I started doing this early on just because there were things in my life I didn't like. And so I'm like, hey, I want to change this. And I would go out and I would do something adventurous, something kind of crazy, something out of the ordinary, just something that would just, it's almost this awakening. You go out and have this experience, you're like, whoa, okay, holy cow. It's almost like waking you up from a sleep. Because like C.S. Lewis taught us, right? You don't know you're asleep when you're sleeping. It's not until you wake up that you realize you've been asleep. And so a pattern interrupter is like this awakening. And again, the more drastic it is, the better. And so you can take a trip. You can go try something you've never tried before. You can go do something kind of extreme, right? Anything to snap you out of your current pattern and cycle. Right? I saw Tony Robbins do this with a guy who was quadriplegic. And the guy was in this mindset that I cannot do anything now. I broke my neck. There's nothing I can do in life. The first thing Tony Robbins did with him was take him skydiving. He took a quadriplegic skydiving. He's like, look, you've got to snap out of this. And the same thing, this is what I've been doing for years and years with youth and with adults, with families, with parents. We go out and we have this epic experience in the wilderness. We go do something that maybe you're terrified of. You go skydiving, you go bungee jumping, you go rappelling, you go rock climbing, you go do something crazy hard. You sign up for a triathlon, you sign up for a mud race, you go to a different country you've never been to before. You just got to get something that just wakes you up, snaps you out of your cycle and your pattern, and gets you going. And this, what happens, you guys, is psychologically the impact, right, of doing something so different and so out of the ordinary, it's almost like a shock factor. Like, whoa! I've taken wonderful youth who came from very affluent families, and we've gone into the poorest places on earth and worked ourselves to the ground. It's a pattern interrupter. And inevitably on these trips I lead, they come to me and they say, I can't be the same. I can't go back to life. I'll never think the way I thought before, right? Because we have this pattern interrupt. And so you go out, you create something like, so come up with something. Now, if money's tight, come up with something that's free. If you got money, come up with something you can spend. But it really doesn't have anything to do with the cost. It has to be a pattern interruption. For some of you, maybe if you never go camping, just get a backpack and go on a backpacking trip. Like, go spend a night in the woods. If you're used to camping, like, go into a major city. Like, just find something in some way. And a mentor or coach, I come on one of my expeditions. I'm leading a trip to Mongolia soon. We're going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. We're going to just do these epic things, right? Because they're pattern interrupters for our lives. So whatever your pattern is, find something that'll break out of that and get uncomfortable and challenge it. Now, that's number one. Part number two, then, is you have to come back to a new pattern. And so if you're planning this, if this is for you, and you should be doing it all the time, every one of us, no matter how great life is right now, we should always have pattern interruptions. So it keeps us awake and alert and alive and on our toes. And I plan these into my life strategically every few weeks. Have some kind of, and I have smaller ones along the way and then bigger ones. And every year I do something massive, like, whoa, just kind of rock the whole foundation. So I have a pattern interrupter, and then as you're planning it strategically for yourself, for youth, for people you lead or influence, now you set up a new pattern. Okay? So you come back, you go into it saying, this is going to be my interrupter. When I come back, things are going to be different. And we set up a new pattern with a system to support it. Because if you have the pattern interruption and you get this awakening and you feel alive and like, yes, I'm ready for change, you come back and you're like, I'm on this, I'm going, but then you slip back into your old patterns and old cycles, it's really easy to fall back into the old thinking, the old ways, the old habit. So you have to come back with a plan and a system that will help you and support you. Otherwise, you're just relying on willpower the whole time saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Oh, I just did it. And it's the same with breaking away from an addiction or creating this new cycle. So come back. What's your plan? What's the new system? What's the new pattern? What's the new cycle? It can include, get the list of books. If I'm going to read books every single day to support me in my change, I'm going to go ahead and buy that stack of books, and they're sitting on my bedstand when I get back from my pattern interrupt. If it's I'm struggling with screen addiction, then I'm going to set alarms on my phone that when they go off at certain periods, I literally take it, airplane mode, and hand it to someone I know will not give it back to me no matter what I say, right? And I have to get serious about this. Like whatever it is, if I have a problem with something, if it's a problem with a substance, or if it's a problem with a relationship, and you have this negative cycle in this relationship, go have a pattern interrupt, come back to a new system like, hey, we don't interact like that anymore. Like that's done. We don't do that anymore. And instead, we're going to replace it with this. You got to have a replacement. So you replace it with a good cycle, a good pattern. Like we're going to do these things consistently to make sure our relationship's going well. And if either of us feels tempted to go back into our old cycle, we're going to stop immediately and go for a walk. We're going to stop immediately and we're going to call a friend. Like whatever it is, you set up the system to support yourself. Get a mentor, get a coach. Get in our monthly coaching program, the School of Awesome Sauce. Getting a coaching program. Just do something that sets up this new system, this new pattern, this new cycle, these new habits to support the change, right? I love this. You guys, I've seen it work with thousands of people. I've experienced it myself many times, and literally this is what I do now. I set up pattern interruptions and then new patterns, new cycles with accountability and coaching to make changes. So do this, implement this in your life and in the lives of people you influence and teach and lead, and make sure this is a regular pattern of your life. Like for your family, this is a regular part of our family's culture. We have pattern interruptions, new patterns. Pattern interruptions, new patterns. And we're just incrementally getting better and better and better and growing on. So make this happen, you guys. It's fun, it's exciting, it's uncomfortable, it's kind of crazy. You'll end up having some epic adventures and some unforgettable memories, but it will change your life if you'll let it. So get out and make it happen. Do it right away. Share in the comments what you're going to do. What's your pattern interruption? And what's your new pattern? Share that with us. Let's go make this happen, you guys. Awesome is always an option. Reach upward.